Greetings, listenership. Welcome to TLC, Tropical Literature Creatives, the podcast where we interview persons of Caribbean heritage about themselves and about their literary works. This evening, we have with us Hilary Sandiford, aka Berjette Costello, author of the book Fat I'm Black. Berjette, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. I know it's really hard to say the name of my title, right?
But you'll know it when you see it.
Oh,
You know it when you see
yeah.
it. I
Yes.
mean, before we continue, one question I ask all the persons who we host on Literature Creatives. I mean, imagine we encounter each other at the airport. I'm coming to Barbados and you're
Mhm.
for the first time. What would you recommend that
Mhm.
I try when I come to the island?
Oh, or national dish, cuckoo and flying fish. You must have that. That is something, it's a delicacy as well as the most enjoyable meal you'll ever have. So I know it's really a little bit more on the expensive side, but it's worth every bite.
Okay, we'll take that advice. We'll take that advice. We have even more reason to go to Barbados now.
That's right.
Okay, Berjette, Hillary, if I would call you that.
You can call me Hillary. I write under Berjette. Yeah.
I'm not too sure where to start because as we go through the information here, I'm seeing a number of titles and I'm wondering how one person could have this many titles. I'm seeing trucking, podcasting, motivational speaking, keynote speaker, and among others. We were saying before the show, the only thing I'm not seeing here is a firefighter and an astronaut because it's a lot to be proud of and a lot of accomplishments. So it's a
Thank
tall
you.
it's a tall order. Before we get into anything, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Well, I'm very proud of the fact that I'm a mom. That's something I'm very accomplished about. And I started writing years and years ago.
Mhm.
But I'm from the island of Barbados. I was born there, raised in North America.
Mhm.
And I've always been an entrepreneur. I started actually my first entrepreneurial position was an egg seller in Barbados. My grandpa was a farmer, and he said, if you can sell these eggs, I'll give you a tray of eggs to sell. So I started selling eggs at 6 years old.
Mhm.
And I sell all those eggs, okay? I am a counselor as well as a motivational speaker and keynote speaker. All of that I do under advocacy for human trafficking as well as
Oh.
domestic violence.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I do these workshops and teaching women how to find purpose and passion. So that is my passion, returning and paying forward because I have lived experience in both those areas, whether sexual violence as well as physical violence. And what else do you want to know from me? I love to sing and dance in the car. And of course, I'm writing this book. It's an autobiography about myself, and I just wanted to combine my multiple things that I had to do with my life experience, which also included eating disorder and eating disorders, and
Wow.
so how they combined with the abuse and how that all kind of jumbled together and created this person that had to find purpose in themselves.
I was going to ask what was your inspiration for the book, but I'm wondering if
Yeah.
ones that you give kind of tied into that. So,
I tied in, but it's a little bit different. I lost my mom in my youth, and this lady was amazing. I didn't realize how amazing she was when she was
mhm.
alive. And we tend to be very much in ourselves when we're going through abuse. The abusive mentality is become very selfish because you're so afraid. And the purpose of this was and that's why it's called Berjette Costello, because Brigitte is a name that she chose for me after her favorite artist, actress, Brigitte Bardot. She
Mhm.
loved her movies, and Costello is part of her name. So I wanted to combine that and kind of celebrate her and, pay it forward and say, thank you, Mom, for, giving me this spirit and this motivation. So this is the inspiration is to kind of pay it forward to my mom and bring back the circle and say, if you find worth and purpose, then you can find love. That's where it came
Oh
from.
my God, that's deep. That's deep. Can you tell us a bit about the book?
Sure. The book, I'm going to read a little bit about it. That way you have kind of a little prelude. It's me going back into my childhood and walking you through my step and how it started out for me, not understanding my self-worth. Dr. Phil says something that was very, very, it was echoing my life. And I kind of use it in my workshop. He said, a child is like a chalkboard. Whatever you put on it is what you're going to get. And that's exactly what happened to me. I was teased and taunted when I was a kid. In the Caribbean, we have a lot of issue with shadism and colors, and we tend to laugh it off into a joke format, and it's not funny, and it leaves a child with a lot of questions about themselves. And unfortunately, it not only open up the aspect of that, but we also have an issue in our community where sexism is practiced openly, and I had to deal with all three of those: sexism, shadism, colorism. From a very young age, and being touched at a very young age. And so when that happens as a child, you tend to question who you are. You tend to question your self-worth. And so I took the book. I said, Hilary, you have to go on this long journey of forgiving myself. And that meant facing my fears, facing my abusers, facing myself. And so I did that. So every year I would choose a person that either had violated me or had helped me, and I kind of confront them and had a conversation with them. And once that was done, I was able to, open myself more and actually write words down on paper, because I would never want to speak my truth. I was so afraid. I used to walk around with my head down, counting the cracks on the ground, because I could not face people. I couldn't look people in the face. And so this book will take you through every aspect of that. It will also take you through obesity, anorexia, bulimia, rape, assault, domestic violence. You will see me go through, because when you tell a child and when you show a child they have no worth, they live with no worth. They live with no understanding of care or love. And so you see me travel through my years, and then you see me finding it and understanding it, unfortunately losing my mom at a young age, which creates more issues. And then me realizing that she had given me all the tools I needed to find that on my own, and that journey of me finding it. So that is the whole aspect of the book.
Wow. I mean, no, it sounds deep. It sounds like a lot.
Yeah, and there's a twist, at the end, because you're going through all this as a person of color, and you're not realizing intersectionality of being a Black person, and then when I realized, oh, wait a minute, I'm Black. I got to deal with that too. In North America, it's like, oh, wait a minute, maybe the weight is not that bad. You know what I'm saying? So you're dealing with imaging, you're dealing with all kind of stuff like that, and a society that tells you that you as a Black female is not good enough, is not pretty enough, and is not worthy anyways. And so I had to blend that all in and realize, wait a minute, I have a whole world against me. I can't be against me. I got to be my own champion. And that's when I realized, and that's when it kind of hit, and I got to go from here. And that's when I came alive. Yep.
It sounds like a lot. It sounds like you learned a lot. In addition to the things that you just described there, what did you learn when it is that you put this book together?
What I learned is that I learned that there was one part of my journey that I had to, because I kept stalling in publishing, but it's been 5 years before because I'm self-publishing, and everyone's like, when's the book coming out? When's the book coming out? And I would keep saying, I'm still editing. And what it was actually, there were two people that I needed to confront. And I knew that once I confronted them, I would probably lose them in my life. And I wasn't comfortable losing them.
Okay.
It was like, you have to choose you. And it was so hard to choose me, because the title that they have in my life is extremely high. And I had to make a decision, and it was a very hard decision. But when I did it, the air, the lightness, the weight, the joy that I felt, it was crazy. And I literally was able to start writing even faster. I started writing faster. I knew exactly what to do and what to say. I started laughing harder. I found love. I had love, but I found it again in that I allow him to love me back, and the way he can love and not the way I thought it should be. And I just opened up myself more and I started just doing other things. And I said, Hilary, oh, you're ready, girl. You're ready. And yeah, so that is the part of the book I didn't expect. That surprised me so much.
No,
Yeah.
okay, I mean, it sounds like something to look forward to. In addition to that, I'm listening to what it is that you had mentioned before. There are topics
Mhm.
that seem kind of harsh. You spoke about rape, for example. Are those stuff you're comfortable sharing in your book, or you think that some of those things should be left out or held back?
No, I wanted to be raw and real. And the thing is, I have a podcast, and that is the tag team. The tag, the tag is raw and real because I live my life like that. I would no longer allow anyone to control my words. I don't speak with harm. I speak with experience of myself. And I wanted any person that was going through this or had been through this to see the truth and realness behind it and maybe find some part of it that they can either use or relate to so that they can stop punishing themselves. We tend to punish ourselves because that shame that we have as people that are survivors, that shame keeps us in the relationship. And people always wonder, why do they stay? We don't stay for the money. Yes, the money, the financial part is a lot of it for a lot of
Yeah.
women, who are depending on that person or have children. However, the shame keeps you in the relationship. I have a piece here. If you want me to redo a little reading, I can
Please,
do a very short reading.
please.
Okay, so I'll go ahead.
Hmm.
Jinkuzi Park became or mini vacation, a place for them to play and be children, and for me to just get away from the basement and hell my mind in a timestamp mode. Each time I would watch my children, I would wonder how much of a mother I was to have stayed that long. Did I do the right thing? Did I create a problem for them? Or was I just afraid to admit that I stayed too long? Each time I look at them, I felt like a failure, questioned every part of me. And at the end of it, I had more questions. No one taught me to be a mother. I lost mine in my youth. But when she was present, I couldn't really even enjoy her. I said I never wanted to be like my mom. But
Hmm.
I know now that I was so selfish of me because she was amazing. I could not see it because I was so blinded by trying to matter. I was so blinded by trying to be seen, to be heard, to be loved, to be understood. I couldn't appreciate the woman, the amazing woman that she was. I didn't understand that she had proven and provided me everything I needed to know that I mattered, to find value. Such an amazing woman that her last words, were words of affirmation to me. Everything will be okay. You will be okay. I am so proud of you. In her dying breath, she taught of me so selfishly. So I stood there looking at my children, wondering, why did I stay so long? I knew how it felt to worry so much about your mom. You couldn't be a child, yet I did the same to them. I felt so guilty that I had failed them. I tried so hard to be the perfect mom, the one that would make sure they were clean, fed healthy meals, read stories at night, tucked them in tight, making sure they were doing every sports or club, soccer, judo, basketball, and robotic club, go to preschool, learn new things, taught them to be innovative, creative, watch out for predators, and never going without. But what a child wants most is a parent who's mentally present, a parent who loves them enough to know their own value, a parent who knows their own worth, displays happiness, and can appreciate simplicity. I could not offer them that. I remember sitting on the corner of the bed, 418 pounds of me, fucked up and bleeding. My face was swollen, unrecognizable. I swear it was. I compared it to the elephant man in the mirror. I took a photo, blooded walls. Those walls are spattered blood are like stains in my brain. I thought, what's wrong with me? The room looked like an aftermath of angry artists. White sheets turned red and floors, they creased filled with liquid pain. The walls decorated in blooded droplets, all four walls completely covered, and the ceilings now match its spattered, dotted, a fist punched, kicked, spattered, blood spattered art of almost death. It was at the moment I realized I had to make the hardest decision in my life. I had to save me. And I'll leave it there.
I mean, I was expecting more, but you had me hooked. I was expecting more.
Yeah, I can go on. You want me to go on and finish it off?
I mean, yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. So I could live. So I could be a mom. My lips hanging, my eyes blackened, even every part of me hurting, bulges in my face swollen shut. I picked up the phone, and for the first time, I told someone I needed help. I remember the hesitation. I was ashamed and broken. People ask, why do women stay? After doing many workshops and speaking to numerous survivors, the echo is similar. Shame. Of course, there's the financial, but the shame, it keeps you in the convince you and convince you in your pain. I picked up the phone, thoughts marathoning my brain. Could I trust anyone with me? My secrets, my fears, and my vulnerability, my honesty. It is the most difficult thing I've ever done. I remember hearing the voice saying hello on the other line, but I could hear the disappointment. However, quickly, I heard love, worry, concern, and trust. That person was my godmother, Sylvia, the woman I call mom, herd co, truth teller, no nonsense, and now the one who saved my life. I remember thinking, this is why she was brought into my life. My life, my life, my life. I want to live. I matter. I had no clue that worst day was the beginning of a better me. I didn't stay too long. Did I stay too long? The smiles on my children's face told me everything happened the way it was supposed to be. I will no longer torture my mind with regret. They ran over to me, arms stretched out wide and smiles to match, carrying dandelions for me. Mom, yes, mom. I finally felt like a mom. I started my journey of inner peace, that feeling I felt when they looked at 418 pounds of me free.
I think that's some very authentic writing there. And
Thank you.
I'm just curious for the persons who will be going through the book and who would encounter a passage like this. What do you want
Mhm.
the takeaway to be?
I want them to realize that, love comes from within. It doesn't come from outside. And here I was judging myself. I was 418 pounds and I thought that I was nothing. My abuser told me that I was ugly, that no one would ever want me. And I believed it because when you don't have any self-worth, anything anyone tells you, you believe. When you walk into a room and someone laughs, you think it's about you. You become so narcissistic in your abuse, you start abusing yourself, mentally. You start thinking that the world is against you. And so I want people to realize that you actually are worth it and that you are beautiful and that you are enough. And that has to come from within. And to see my children who are just looking at me for direction, looking at me for love, and that's all they care. They don't care how much I weigh. They don't care what I look like. They didn't care what shades and colors. They didn't care about none of that. All they wanted to be is to be able to be children and to play and to have a mom that can smile back at them. And so that's what I want people to take away from that particular passage is that I had everything I actually needed and I didn't know because I was so wrapped up and so afraid of being me that I allow someone else to control who I was.
Obviously, the writing comes from yourself, and it would have taken
Yes.
time to put together and compile. How long did it take you to write the book?
I started writing this book when I left my abuse because some of the pieces are going to be journal pieces that I know I was writing through my abuse, and so you'll see the raw, authentic. A lot of people don't share their journals that they had when they were going through the abuse. I'm going to share that, and so there's pictures of that, and then you will see how raw and how angry the words, even the script of the word, drawing over the letter over and over again, how, pronounce it is. And so you get to really experience it. So it took me about 10 years to actually put this book together and 5 years to write it down. And yeah, I had to, because I said I didn't want anyone to be surprised by this book. I want that when this book comes out, they said, I don't like it, but she told me about it. you
Yeah.
know.
No, I'm just curious. In the About Me, there's a picture
Mhm.
there. What does
Yes.
the picture represent?
So that was my first time wearing shorts in public, and since I
Oh,
was a child, yes. And I
oh.
was in Key West, and the bird signifies my mom. So I have a tattoo on my wrist. It says free, and it's a script writing free, and there's a big bird flying up. That's my mom, and then there's three birds on there. That's myself and my two boys, and I was looking out into the over the ocean, and this bird comes up. There were two birds, this big
Hmm.
one and this little one. And the big one flew right in front of me and just kind of showed me the back and just stayed, and the little one came and sat right by me and just kind of looked at me and just kept baiting itself and looking at me. And I looked over and I said, Mom, thank you. And they flew away. And I was just like, oh my goodness. And I just felt so free. And that signified a lot for me. It was my first time in public, being myself,
Hmm.
accepting who I was, loving who I was, and not being afraid of the world judging me. So that's what that signifies.
Wow. And that's a major accomplishment, the validation
Yes.
coming from within as opposed to
Mhm.
that it comes from without.
I was 45 years old wearing shorts for the first time in public. Oh, goodness.
Oh, I'm just curious. I mean, one of the things on TLC we inquire about is persons and their publishing stories. I understand that the book that you're coming up with, that it's self-published. Why did you choose that route?
Yes. I want it to be authentic. I didn't want anyone to, scurry my words and determine what should go there, what shouldn't go there, it should look like. Also, too, financially, it's financially better for the author, and it's cheaper for me to publish it. I'll be, it's COVID, the pandemic just happened. My business was hit really hard, but
Mhm.
the main reason for myself is authenticity. I just want it to be me. I wanted the words to be mine. I didn't want anyone to tell me grammatically that didn't go there. I said, this is how I spoke in Barbados. So when I spoke in Barbados, this is how we spoke down there. I'm not going to change it to my North American way of speaking because I wasn't in North America at that time. You know what I mean? So I wanted to, so you can actually see me transition, see how I was when I was there, and how I spoke when I was there, and what the culture was like, and what we do when we're in Barbados, and how, I want it to be authentic. So that is my main reason for self publishing.
The book hits hard. There are a number of really set
Hmm.
topics that I really think persons would really benefit from by going through it.
Hmm.
So the
Yeah.
person who might be listening, who would be understanding that you're an author. I mean, you're a serial entrepreneur in several ways that a
Hmm.
motivational speaker, keynote speaker, etc. And I mean, we're focusing on the publishing part, but I mean, your other accomplishments, it's hard to separate them because it's there. You can't really separate them. Give to them if it is that they want to follow a path similar to yours, to become an author, and who knows, maybe explore serial entrepreneurship like yourself.
The first thing I had to learn to do was find confidence and passion and purpose.
Mhm.
I wanted to centralize on that because I was in a sexually abusive relationship, and so I was completely damaged. I had no confidence, and Toastmasters actually is where I found it. I went to Toastmasters, and they really pushed me. They will say, "Hey, get up and speak," and say my first speech was it was about the color red, and they said, just say 2 2 minute speech. I got up and I said, I like the color red. thank you. That was my first speech. And they clapped and applauded. And I said, what is wrong with these people? And I would come back every week and I just got my confidence just kind of building and building and building. And
Mhm.
one day, I did my first speech. It's called Icebreaker. And what I wrote, I didn't speak about. I ended up actually doing a lot of self-revealing and self-disclosures. And I had saw everyone's face in the room and people were crying. And I'm like, why are they crying? I was just talking about my life. And that's when I realized how traumatic, how much trauma I've been through. And I didn't, and to me, it was normalized. And my boss came up to me after and said, I am so proud of you. I'm honored to have heard that story and thank you for sharing that. And I walked away and I came back to my desk and people were cheering and I go, what is this? I like this. I like the confidence that it helped me. I was able to for myself for the first time. I just told the whole room about myself and I don't feel embarrassed or ashamed. I
Mhm.
like this. Okay, let me invest. And I did, and I got more and more braver and braver. And then one day, and there was another person in the room because one thing about Toastmasters, a lot of networking.
Mhm.
And this person told me about the opportunity to do workshops for social justice, and that's where I started. I started doing workshops for a government agency,
Mhm.
and it just took off from there. And entrepreneurship is one of those things that once you start doing it, it has so many different heads, and you can like, I could actually take this skill and do it over there. And so I started doing that. And so if you really want to do entrepreneurship and find your passion and purpose, I suggest finding your confidence first and building on that confidence. And from there, you will just open up like a storybook and everything will come out.
I mean, it sounds so exciting, and it sounds like you're just driven
Yeah.
right now at this point. We're curious. Everyone is curious. I mean, what's next for Hillary? What's next for Berjette Costello?
Well, what's next for me is whatever God has blessed me with. That's how I see it. Right now, I'm a outdoorsy person. I'm a hiker.
Mhm.
So now that I've done the autobiography and once that's published, the part of Hillary is like I'm very, very humorous. I like to laugh. My name actually means hilarious in Latin. And I'm going to write a book that tells some funny stories about my life, some
Mhm.
things that that I find hilarious that happened in my youth, and I'm going to put those into little sector stories and share that as a book. But it's not going to be a children's book because none of my books are going to be for kids per se, but it's going to be about children so that adults and parents can learn about children and how they think. Children see things differently,
Yeah.
and they take on guilt very easily. And I'm trying to get parents to realize to watch the words that they use around their children. For example, if you see Johnny, let's say his name is Johnny, and Johnny's writing on the wall, don't go up to Johnny and say, get off that wall and punish Johnny for writing on the wall. What you
Mhm.
can do is take a square area of the wall that you can decorate and make it nice and get some chalkboard paint and paint it on there and tell Johnny every Friday the family wants to see a mural, some kind of picture or art piece that you did. And Johnny will feel great. You're not getting your whole wall written up and you're not saying no to him and you're not killing his passion or purpose. So those are the kind of stories I want to share with parents so that they can talk differently to the parents, to the kids. They're adults. They're small little people that will become adults and one day we'll talk back.
I mean, without a doubt, for one, I think I'm looking forward to something like that. I think I
Oh,
am.
great.
I think I
Okay, awesome. I can't wait to write it. I have so many ideas. I've been writing them down as I've been doing this book. And I was like, I remember that story and I pulled it out, and also us, seeing what people call uh, discipline, beating the kid. And me as a person that I grew up in a home where that wasn't done. It was more of you were getting grounded and then watching it and seeing it still had trauma, put trauma in fearing me, although I was just witnessing it. So all those kind of stories I want to share. I can't wait to share it. So that's what's next for me. And of course, all my speaking engagements I want to be doing and continue counseling, life coaching, etc. And
Mhm.
trucking.
I mean, your book, if it is that we want to get copies of it, where can we get copies?
Audible as well as Amazon. That's where it'll be published.
Oh, so audience, so it's going to be an audiobook as well.
Yes, yes, very much
Just
so.
curious, who would be voicing it? Would you be voicing it?
And right now it's a competition between me and my social media specialist, but I like my voice on my words. As I say, I want to keep it authentic, and I want people to hear the voice behind, the story. And I knew how I felt when I was going through certain things, so I might as well just say it.
I was asking answers there. I mean, in addition to trucking and all the other things, we're going to add voice actor as well. So I mean, the list just
Why not?
goes on and
Hey,
on.
I used to do acting when I was a kid. I used to do modeling and acting, so I might as well go back into those little boxes.
I mean, I'm tempted to ask if there's anything that you don't do, but I mean, I think, like I said, I think
I do whatever God bless me to do.
I mean, we're going to keep on going into stuff. We're going to keep on going into stuff.
Yeah, I did hand modeling too.
Oh my goodness. All right. I mean, Hilary, Berjette,
Yeah,
I mean, it was a pleasure having you on the podcast at this point in time.
thank
I'm
you.
really glad for you sharing your literary book, and we really look forward to getting copies of it to go through it. Um,
Yes,
so that brings us to the end, and I look forward to anything positive that you continue to dole out. And who
yeah.
knows, we might find ourselves interviewing you again for your other book, the one that you were talking about too.
Yes. And feel free to drop into my podcast anytime, Hot Tea with Pleasures.
Ah,
Anytime you can drop into my podcast, because we're going to be down in Barbados in July 28th. We'll be
ah,
down there doing a live broadcast, and I'm hoping to actually do a reading of my book down there while I'm down there. So I'll let you know.
okay, good stuff, good stuff. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you again and take
You're
care.
welcome. You as
Okay.
well. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. You've been listening to TLC, Tropical Literature Creators. If you've heard something of interest or something you like, reach out to us. Reach out to our authors. Follow us on social media. We look forward to hearing from you.